Hello, Florida. This is Joe Mullins of the Live Workshop Play Show, and welcome to this weekend. We're broadcasting out of the great city of Tampa, Florida, in the greatest state, in the greatest country in the world, aired all over the state of Florida and all over the country. We want to welcome our new listeners. We want to encourage them to come back, and we want to welcome the listeners that are coming back. And today we're going to talk about a very big topic, health insurance, a complicated topic. The words Obamacare, the words open market, the words being able to renew now. It's so confusing and it's so crazy. I know just a few months ago, or a few years ago, I went to renew my health insurance and I was told it wasn't time and I couldn't do it. It wasn't an open time to do it. I said, "What do you mean an open time? I just need insurance. I want to change it. I like shopping around." And it's so much structure and change been brought to it. A lot of people sitting today are doing what I did back then, wondering how in the world you do it, calling around, going to the internet, going and being told so many different things. I stumbled upon a guy, David Paul. David Paul, I want to welcome you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, I stumbled upon you and you took this big problem that I had been working on for almost over a month and you simplified it, got me the needs I got. And I didn't realize insurance had changed so much that you had so many different plans that some plans would cover your doctor, some plans wouldn't. At the end of the day, you sat down with me, found out what my needs were, found out what I needed, and turned around and got this done. I thought me going online would do it a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. You cut my cost of my insurance, I want to say, from 500 a month down to about 100 a month. It was unbelievable. To the listeners that are listening that are dealing with what I dealt with, let's talk about how insurance has changed, how it's a different world today, why you can't just sign up anytime you want to, and what you do, the difference you make in having someone like you to be able to get the right insurance.
Yeah, sure. I can start wherever you'd like. One thing you mentioned there was why can't you sign up or change your insurance whenever you want? That's the system that we now have in place, right? So with the Affordable Care Act, which has many names for it, the marketplace, Obamacare, they all mean the same thing. One of the big changes that they added was that pre-existing conditions are covered 100% from day one. So it doesn't matter if you had a previous diagnosis, the second your plan starts, everything's going to be covered. And with a system like that, they honestly have to have an enrollment period, because if everyone was basically given the option to enroll or disenroll whenever they want throughout the year and have everything covered, it would just promote adverse selection. Because I think most people would agree, if you knew you could get everything covered tomorrow, you would just wait until something happens and then get the insurance plan, and the basically the entire system would collapse on itself. So that's where open enrollment came from, where you have a set period of time where you can enroll in your plan and change your plan, unless you have a qualifying life event throughout the year. Um, and now that is just for the marketplace side, because there's a whole other section of the health insurance world that maybe many don't know of, and it's the private insurance. So you can get health insurance through other companies that aren't linked to Obamacare or the marketplace, and it's much easier to enroll to get coverage. You don't have to wait for an enrollment period. There's just other factors that are involved to get you the coverage. But that's long-winded answer, but that's how we got to the point of having one period in the year where we can actually enroll and change our plans.
Now, David, when we met, I was going around and I was looking at different insurances. I didn't realize the scale of insurance and how it's different. I was shocked because I thought I would get one plan and it would cover most all doctors. There's so many different versions of it, especially with the Obamacare, and I'm going to always probably call it Obamacare, but there was so many different plans. There's some people that take them, some people that don't. And then you go a step above. Not all pharmacies share the same insurance. There's some that use just specific pharmacies. I didn't
Correct.
know that. These are important things to know because when you're reading online and you see all this data and all this information, you tend to not read the whole thing. You tend not to go through it all and read it. So having someone like you and you explaining it to me, basically what I loved is you asked me some key points about, hey, do you want to see this doctor? Do you want to see this dentist? Then let me go out. And you went out and found the plans that enabled me to see the doctor I wanted, the dentist I wanted, and had the coverage I want. I think the only thing that I found shocking and has changed in the insurance world is how states now are almost segregated from other states. They don't recognize the other insurance. Let's talk a little bit about how insurance has changed and why it's important to have a coach like you to be able to coach someone to the right direction.
Certainly. Well, one of the changes you mentioned there is the networks and the network access. And that was a big change when Obamacare first got implemented, is that there were a larger selection of networks to have. And now that's, although there are some positives to the coverage and plans that are available, that's probably the biggest negative, is they are typically all limited networks, and it starts to become one of the most important things, because if you have, a doctor you've been seeing for 20 years or whatever it is, they might be the deciding factor of what plan you're going to be with, or how you're going to get your coverage, just so you can continue to have access to them. um, and like you mentioned, having someone like me in your corner. For myself, I'm not employed by an insurance company. I don't work for them. Since I'm a broker, I have contracts with over 40, almost 50 health insurance companies, and it allows me to make decisions based on my clients and their needs. I'm working for them. They're my priority. Whereas if I was a captive agent, all my decisions would be for the insurance company, right? Because I'd have maybe six plans to show you, and it's going to be one out of the six. I'm going to just try and put a square in a circle, and that's just not how it works. So you need to have that custom ability, where we're able to build a plan around your needs, and that's where you're able to actually get everything that you need covered. And if you don't have someone who's like diligently looking at that, um, it can be very complex and confusing. And if you try and call, not to throw any negativity out there, but if you try and call even the marketplace directly, I mean, it's tough. It's tough getting connected with people, and it's a different situation, right? You're dealing with, you're a business owner who's dealing with another business owner, right? Whereas if you're talking to someone on the marketplace, it's an employee, right? Well, my whole livelihood is based around you and your care and you being satisfied with what we're doing. Especially in my business, I handle health insurance from day one to the last day. So my goal is to make sure my clients are well taken care of. So when Medicare comes around, we can do that as well. There's an incentive there for me to make sure I'm doing things right, make sure that they're happy, make sure that they're covered, protected well. Um, and it's a concern, right? And if you talk to someone else, they don't care. They're clocking in, they're clocking out, no matter what happens, right? Um, and I think we've all are kind of at the breaking point with 1-800 numbers and long customer service wait lines.
Well, and that's the thing I was gonna say. When I had to call Marketplace, I got a long wait. I got a very harsh foreign speaking person that came on there. They didn't know about the policy. They basically were telling me to go to this website, read over it, look at it, and I go, "Ma'am, that's like asking me to read a manual to perform brain surgery. I don't know how to do all this stuff. I can't do this, and I don't know what it means. I'm reading words that I don't know what it means, and I've got 2 degrees and a master's, and I'm like, I'm clueless with this." So, I was really lost at it. The insurance I had, I kept finding out wasn't good. I paid for it, I got it, I found out it didn't work here, it didn't work there. They didn't tell me about any of that. So when you and I met, when I went to my doctor and my doctor said, "Joe, you're not covered. You got the worst insurance in the world. You're not covered on hardly anything." I said, "But they do pre-existing conditions." He said, "Yeah, but they don't cover any, meaning they do a 10, $10. You need the $10 copay, not the $10 coverage." And I go, he recommended going to you. I went to you, you sat down, you asked those key questions. We didn't get into a large, thick book like this going, "Hey, this book's we're gonna read through this chapters and go through it." We didn't do that. You asked some key questions. We tweaked it a little bit. I went out there, we tried it, you tweaked it a little more, and I cannot imagine not having someone like you because most of the insurance people I remember 20 years ago, I had a health insurance agent, and I went to him and he helped me get it, and it was very expensive. It was bad. He did it with my business. It gave good coverage, but it was expensive. It was like 1,500 a month. It was that expensive. So I come out, I go to most of my insurances. Everybody's saying they don't touch health insurance, they don't touch health insurance. I didn't even know a person like you existed. Then my doctor refers me to you, and you have made it now solve the problem. I look forward to the open enrollment notice because I go, what can we add to it? Or what did I not get last year that I want to add this year? Not because I'm getting older and it needs to change a little bit. Not,
Course.
oh my God, I don't have this or I don't have that. It's been a huge, huge game changer. So, what happened to the traditional? And why are you such a rare breed today?
Wow, that's a really good question. I guess I could give a few reasons for that. One, I think just in general, health insurance is maybe the more overlooked side of insurance. Like most people, when you're talking about insurance, they're thinking home, auto, your business liability, things like that. Um, and honestly, when Obamacare first got put into place and they had the mandates come in, it was a tough time for a lot of agents because a lot of their books of business just completely went to zero when that got passed and put into place in our country. And they were not paying anything that was livable. I mean, you do a ridiculous amount of work for $60, and it's just at that point you need thousands and thousands of clients, and how can you possibly do a proficient job with those kind of numbers? I mean, it steered a lot of people out of the industry. And I think that there's just some unknown there. I think there's just unknown of what the options are, what the potential is. So I would say that that's probably one of the biggest reasons, is just like the lack of awareness. And I think there's also uh, you know, health insurance has been politicized. So it's a political realm. I mean, all the decisions we're watching right now, everything that happened last year, the previous years, it ties in very tightly with that. And you also you get a lot of unfun calls, right? Like my whole goal is to serve others and help them however I can, and uh, it doesn't mean that it doesn't weigh on you. I mean, you have to deal with hard calls all the time. I'm After someone's a client, you know, the calls we hope to never get, they happen, right? You're dealing with someone who just got diagnosed with cancer and they're not sure what to do or where they can go, or they just had a heart attack. And I mean, life insurance is a step is a step worse. You're getting that call that someone's husband or wife just passed away, and uh, you know, I can't lie. The part that feels good is being able to, be there for them and say, hey, well, you know, at least your family is left with whatever, $200,000 or you have $1 million. The bills are going to be the last thing you worry about. Of course, there's, uh, humbling, meaningful moments in it, but it is wrapped around. I mean, they say health insurance and life insurance. It's really sickness insurance and death insurance. That's what we're talking about. And I would say that's probably a big factor in all of it,
Yeah,
for
I bet it
sure.
could be emotional. It could be very stressful. But knowing life insurance, health insurance, those things are so key. Even the life insurance, when I went in to do it, I didn't realize there was stuff that, if that it'll pay back, or if there was some that just you pay, and if you outlive the years you're paying, all the money's gone. And I said, I don't want that. I don't want to just wait. It's like insurance that I'm hedging my bet that I'm gonna live over a certain amount of time. I want to be able to benefit my kids and been make the transition easy. You're right. When someone dies, it's an emotional nightmare for you. But then to bring the financial part in and make it even worse, I've seen families just devastated because of the financial disaster they bring in. I've seen net worth estates worth 40, 50 million dollars get taken by the government or get taken by breakage fees or fees because there were loans involved in businesses. I've seen all that dwindle down and then the people owed stuff. And I couldn't believe it. I sat there and I went, how did this occur? And it's because of not planning correctly, not moving assets when you should, having the government
Correct.
come in and say, "Hey, we gave you a loophole to get out of it. We gave you an opportunity. Thank God we've got a conservative one in there now." They focus on raising the age and raising the gifting age. But if you don't do all that and are prepared, you could get heavily taxed. And that life
Correct.
insurance is a key to making that. But that's stuff you just don't know. That is stuff so technical that a guy running a business or a guy working 9 to 5 or a person that's out there raising children, a single mother raising them alone, they don't know these things. They don't have a clue on these things. And the last thing you want to do is
Correct.
go to a hospital, and it does happen. You don't get treated right, or you don't get the insurance. And now they've got the ability to say, we don't take that insurance. You can come here, but you got to pay full up front. And your insurance choice is maybe some place that has a 10% survival rate. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to take my
Correct.
life in those hands. So that's why it's crucial. And it was so important you explained that stuff and went over it with me to understand it and see it. Again, I don't, other than having a great doctor that told me, how do people find someone like you? How do they find you? And let me ask you this too, and throw this in it. You're in an area in Florida. Can you represent all of Florida? Or are you limited to just that area? Can you represent multiple states?
Yeah, I'm a national insurance broker. So I'm licensed in the majority of states. Um, just being transparent, typically the right-leaning states are more favorable to work in. They just have more options, and they're just more willing to work with like brokers like myself. And some of the, typical very blue leaning states, they're a nightmare to for us to work in. Um, so as far as I go, my services extend to the majority of the states in our country. Of course, Florida and my town is number one because that's where I'm at. That's where most people know me from, of course. And then finding me or someone like me, to be honest, it can be a little challenging because people want to go out there and shop for insurance, and and this happens not just in insurance. There's many industries like this, but they'll go out and start looking online and they fill out all these forms thinking that, they may get connected with someone like me. But really what they did is they put their information into a marketing company who just took their information and now sold it out to 10 other companies that sold it out to other people. And then next thing you know, you're getting 20 spam calls a day thinking you were going to get an insurance quote. So it is a little tough. I mean, there's definitely through networking, marketing, advertising. I mean, that's how we get the word out. And honestly, a show like this is how we can spread more awareness and shed light on the options that are out there. Because at the end of the day, if it's not me, which I'd love to insure our country, but it's not going to happen. We need more of us. Um, it's just pushing hard to get the word out and start talking to people and have the conversations.
Well, and I don't like holding on the phone, and I don't like talking to someone after I held for 40 minutes and then them telling me a few things and saying, I'll call you back. And then 3 weeks later, I remember, oh my God, they hadn't called me back. That's what happened to me with that marketplace experience. And then I got a call from the lady they said that was the government person to speak to me. And she said, oh, I had a death in the family and I've been dealing with this. And I'm sorry I didn't get back with you. And I looked up and I said, I don't want a death in my family, or I don't want to get sick and not have insurance. This is important to me. My kids need to have insurance. I don't want to worry about that. But it was like I wanted to be sympathetic, but also at the same time, I'm thinking this is scary when you rely on someone like this that's doing it, just doing it because it's a job for them, not a career. That
Correct.
was scary. And it scared me to know that I could be put in that, or my family could be put in that. God forbid your child come up with something. It could literally bankrupt a life savings, bankrupt everything you have to be able to get the care. And when it comes to your kids, there's no price too much to pay to have a healthy
Correct.
child.
Correct. 100%. I mean, honestly, I think not even an hour ago, I had an unfortunate call with one of my clients who's going through chemotherapy right now. And I mean, those bills, I mean, we're talking over $100,000 a month in these services. And you also have to think, if that event happens, where are you going to go? And that's something important to think about. Who are you going to go get that care from? Right? Do you want the lowest level of care? Do you want the cheapest thing out there? Think about if it's your kid, I would imagine most people want the highest, most quality service that they could possibly get. And these are all the factors that play into this. And just like you were saying with the simplified process, these aren't things that I expect anyone to waste their time on and sit there and study and learn, all this jargon, because that's what it is. I mean, it's its own language. I mean, even like you said, like the marketplace, they were telling you all these things that basically meant nothing to you, and now you're gonna have to go and study that. It's just unrealistic. Most people aren't gonna do that, especially if you're a business owner or self-employed. I mean, you're working 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 hours a week. The last thing you want to do is spend an hour or more learning about insurance. It's
Now,
like,
David, when is open enrollment?
yeah, so open enrollment for under 65 is November 1st to December 15th. And then we have an extension period for a month after. So it will go until January 15th this year.
Now, as we wrap up the show again, let our listeners know how they can get in touch with you, how they can reach out and find you, and you can help them. I can't give you a big enough endorsement to tell the listeners how great and how simplified you made this process. But how do they get in touch with you?
Well, Joe, I'll say I really appreciate all the praise, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. If you wanted to find me, you can find me on Facebook, on Google, on my website. So USA Benefits Group, we are a national brokerage. If you look me up, I probably have the easiest name out there. It's David Paul. So if you look up David Paul USA Benefits Group, you'll find me on Google. You'll find my Facebook. If you go to our website, usabg.com/dpaul, you'll get my website link as well. Yeah, it's simple. I'm out there. I try and be noticeable to be found.
And I do want to tell the listeners, you got to pay attention when you're talking to David. Pay attention to the pharmacy they use. Pay attention to the doctors. Make sure you have clarity. If you're in a situation like I'm in, where I have a child that lives in one state, an ex-wife that lives in one state, and I live in another, these courts turn around and say, "Oh, you got to pay health insurance." Well, you can't pay health insurance if the thing that I found out is that, "Oh, I'll just put them under my plan." When I was a government official, they wouldn't let me pay. I could pay that. It basically met the qualifications of the court, but when the ex-wife went to use it up in Georgia, they told her it was worthless. They wouldn't take it. Those are things that are key to know. And I don't even think our legal system, our government, it just shows how messed up they are. But to have someone like David working with you is phenomenal. David, I want to thank you for joining us today. David Paul, reach out to him Google him, reach out to him. He can help you with the insurance needs. David, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity.
And remember, Florida, health insurance is one of the hardest things to do, but it can be made easy when you have someone like David Paul. Reach out to him. He can help you out. He did an amazing job with me and my family. Some of the biggest and greatest assets I have, my kids. He did a wonderful job. Remember, we need to be able to live, work, shop, and play and be healthy as we can in the state of Florida and show the rest of the world this is the way you get it done. Thank you, David, for being a great person to have that happen.
Oh, appreciate it, Joe. Thank you. Amen to that.
Have a great weekend.
You as well. Take care.